Hello and welcome to another episode of the It's Not About the Fucking Food podcast. I am Chloe, your host. I'm an eating disorder therapist and recovery coach. Today I want to talk about body image and particularly about loving your body, because I think that this is something that can really set us up for failure, particularly when we're talking about eating disorder recovery from disordered eating, looking to find food freedom and make peace with our body. I think this body love thing is a bit of a misnomer, and I think particularly with the way that our diet culture is as it is at the moment, it is really, really tricky. And so I want to really dive into that today. So if you ever asked yourself, will I ever truly love my body? Then this is the episode for you. Now, I feel like I'm really lucky that I recovered about 10 years ago, during a time when the body positivity movement seemed an awful lot more pure, a lot more about celebrating women's bodies and lifting each other up. We really had a culture of celebrating. It felt like, definitely within the Instagram circles and the circles that I was in, it was all about celebrating bodies being different, accepting that we all come in different shapes and sizes. There was a lot going on around fat activism, and really trying to challenge the fat phobia that had been really inherent to our society and the way that we kind of view success, view body image ideals, view all sorts of things, attractiveness, etc. as well. And so I think that was a really pivotal moment for people, was this kind of idea that we aren't always in control of what our bodies look like. Is it not better for us to have a healthy relationship with food and our bodies and celebrate that and celebrate all the amazing things that we do? And I think that has really been changed. I think there's a couple of things that it have really changed the body positivity movement. I think some of it is like the pandemic and post-pandemic. We've really seen this shift back to, that thin ideal and influencers really selling products, to that, sort of sell this dream of loving your body when you get to X, Y, and Z. We've also got the rise of GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, and I think that's really hammered and unfortunately done a lot of damage to the body positivity movement, the body acceptance, the fat activism work that was done. It's really had a massive impact on that, and I think that is a real shame. And I can imagine, I know from the clients I work with, like, it's a very different world that people are recovering in now. And so I think it's really important to come back to the why has that culture changed, yes, but also what can we do about it. I think that it's really hard to not believe a dream that somebody's selling to you when you want so badly. And I think that so many people are selling diets. Influencers are selling the idea that you will love your body when. You'll love your body when you look like X. You'll love your body when you take this product and then this happens. You'll love your body when you get to this size, right? And by doing this, we kind of miss the entire point of what the body positivity movement is and body love is. Body love should not be about loving your body because it looks a certain way. Loving your body is not about loving the external. It's about accepting the external and loving our bodies for everything that they do for us every day. Our bodies are these fantastic instruments, and it blows my mind and continues to blow my mind. Like, I'm now a mum with 2 kids, and I, operate on minimal sleep. And I still have this amazing body that has recovered predominantly from the chronic illnesses that I developed. That, I live this amazing life despite having anorexia for as long as I did. Like, our bodies are just incredible. They breathe for us. Our kidneys are work. Like, it just blows my mind. All I learn about the body, and every time like I learn something else about the body, it just blows my mind. They are just incredible instruments and pieces of equipment that I just think we should be really honoured to have, actually. And I used to refer very much to bodies as being like this kind of meat suit that we were housed in. I do feel like the body love movement has kind of lost that now, rather than sort of thinking about these bodies as being this enabler, this piece of equipment, this instrument that we get to use. The focus again is being on this really external thing, what our bodies look like. And I think we forget that what we look like isn't in our control. There are so many factors that determine what our bodies, what our bodies look like. And so many of them are not determined by us. So much of it is predetermined by genetics. As to be where our set point weight is. We all have this set point weight. We all have a weight in which our body, or a range of weights which our body will kind of gravitate to. If we push below that, then, we're at higher risk of things like binge eating disorders, and likely for like 94% of people, I think 94% of people who go on a diet gain that weight back and more, will be brought back into that band, and sort of adds, and the body will add some contingency, because our bodies are built for feast and famine. They're not built for a world without that food security, which we are really, really lucky to have. And so, do I think that loving our body is ever possible? I think we can love our bodies like we would love anybody in our lives. And that means that we don't always like them, right? I'm married. I have 2 young children. I love them dearly. I love them unconditionally. But I do not always like everything that they do. And I feel like that nuance is kind of missed in the body love movement at the moment. One, this focus on external, but also we're kind of feeding back into that binary, that polarity, like we either love our bodies or we don't. And nothing really is that black and white. Like everything that exists really is in the grey. And I think that's particularly why people that struggle with eating disorders, anxiety, kind of drawn more into that kind of thinking, because they naturally have that more black and white thinking before recovery. And it's something that we can be even prone to through programming and everything else. So we will never love what our bodies look like all of the time, and it is influenced by things like our hormones, our stress levels, what's going on in our life. Our relationship with our body will change depending on where we are in our cycle. Our bodies will change depending on where we are in our cycle, what's going on externally in our lives at that time, whether we've gone through the menopause, what the genes are that we carry, what our relationship with food has been in the past. The more we diet, generally, the more our body adds that sort of contingency weight in, until it feels that it has that food security, and then it will come back to that set point. But I think my point is that, the body love movement as it is not what it should be. The body love movement has become that you will love your body when it looks X, Y, and Z, because that ultimately is what sells. The idea of having a body that you feel sexy and attractive in, sells. The idea of kind of having to do the inner work, the root cause work, the self-care and stuff isn't sexy. It's not a quick fix in the way that our society is really addicted to. And so I really encourage clients that I work with to move away from this idea of like loving what their body looks like, because I don't always think that's realistic. And also it's like this massive bridge, isn't it? Because if we currently hate our bodies, then it is a long old way to get into the point where we love them every day. And so much like when we do like belief work and stuff, we bridge the gap between. I think body neutrality is a brilliant place to work towards, a place where we feel neutral about our bodies, where we don't love them, where we don't hate them, we see them for the brilliant things that they do for us, and we focus on that inner stuff, and we're grateful for that, and we accept it for kind of what it is. And I think that it's not sexy. It's not like it doesn't sell talking about body neutrality and body acceptance and stuff like that, because it isn't this like magic wand situation. But the whole point of it is that the magic wand situation is attractive because it is unrealistic. And I think that we really have to challenge ourselves on this and ask ourselves, will it ever be enough? Because I know from my own experience with eating disorders, with my own experience with chasing numbers on the scales and chasing sizes, and think I will be happy with my body when X happens. And you know what? That day never comes. And I see this with clients, and I know that they have had these experiences where they have chased weights, they've chased numbers on the scale, they've chased different sizes. And when they get there, it just becomes a next milestone. And that is because it is never enough. And the reason it's never enough is because it's not really about our body, what our body looks like. And this is why I think that I really struggle when people talk to me, like say, help me with my body image. It's like, but it's not about the body. the whole point of, like, you know, we will only be happy with our bodies when we are happy with ourselves, when we accept that these are these external pieces of equipment that we get to use that enable us to do all the amazing things that we get to do with our lives. And yeah, so I think that it is a misnomer, this loving our bodies thing, because we make it mean that we're going to love and think we're the hottest, sexiest person ever, and that I don't think is the goal, or should be the goal, and is a sustainable goal. This working towards this body neutrality and body acceptance, I think, is where we should be. And as I said, be really honest with yourself about whether it ever will be enough, whether you will ever be happy with what you look like, whether you will ever be there. And the answer is you won't. And the solution to that is to making peace with that, making peace with the body that you've been given and the predetermined genetics, and knowing that it's so much more important to have a fabulous life. I think we don't realize when we're in the thick of it how much time, energy, and space chasing this thing that is this elusive loving what our body look like thing takes up. And it is so freeing when you literally don't give a shit anymore, when you can just carry on with your day and do what you want to do without worrying what people think about your body, not judging yourself for what you look like. You wear clothes because you like them, you wear clothes because they're comfortable, and you just are able to crack on with your life because you've made peace with the fact that you might never be happy with what it looks like, and that is okay. And I think it's so difficult to wrap your head around that, especially when our brains are always being filled with these messages that tell us that when we do X, Y, and Z, that it will be enough. But it won't. And it never will. And that's something that is really hard to make peace with, but it's something we have to make peace with in order to truly be able to move on. I think then we move on to this kind of grieving stage that we go through. And I don't use that word lightly, but I think it is a grieving. You know, we are making peace with the fact that we will never love our body. And that's something we have dedicated so much time and energy to, and sunk maybe a lot of money into as well. And getting to the point where you realize, actually, maybe this is it. And maybe I have to learn to be okay with that. And I think that is really the answer to a lot of the body image stuff, is making peace with the fact that you may never like what it looks like. And so what do I do next? Carry on and just live your life and enjoy it and make it the best life that you can really make it to be. And obviously it isn't that easy, and that's why, you know, it takes time and takes a lot of healing, which is what I'm fortunate enough to be able to help my clients to do. But I hope it's, you know, maybe walking away from this podcast, you are able to think a little bit more critically when you are looking at information, when you see things on social media. Remind yourself of that 94%. They're relying on you putting that weight back again and more, or struggling with eating disorders and disordered eating and staying stuck there, because ultimately they want you to keep coming back. Weight Watchers and Slimming World, to an extent as well, I've had a real crisis in the last couple of years, because people are not returning in the way that they used to these businesses, likely because there's so many independent people, there's so many influencers, they've got, you know, you got GLP-1 and stuff like that now as well. Their whole business model is based on returning clients. It's based on the fact that you will put that weight on again, blame yourself, feel horrible, feel ashamed, because that's sort of they hammer onto that shame and the fact that you've done this to your body, and the fact that, you know, it's your responsibility to do something about it. And then you go back to them and spend more money and lose that weight again and then put it back on. And that is the cycle that they're trying to really fuel, because it is what sells, it is what makes the money. And each time we don't blame them, we don't think, oh, this doesn't work because, you know, it's not supposed to work. We think it must be our fault. The reality is it is predetermined, so much of this. And so, you know, our lives will be much better if we can make peace with that and let it go. I know that lots of people aren't going to love this podcast, and I wish my answer was sexy and glamorous and the answer that everybody wants to hear, but I think that is the real truth about body image. And as I said, maybe you need to allow yourself to grieve the fact that this, and maybe this hits to your heart and you go, do you know what, I know in my heart that this is right, but I'm not ready to accept it yet, and that's okay. But maybe you think, oh, you know, I need to allow myself to go through this grieving process now and allow myself to be disappointed that actually this is my truth, so that I can really go on and live my life. And that's the whole point of grieving, really, and going through that is that making peace and that acceptance when it comes to things like this, but allowing yourself that process, that time to really do that as well. I wish I could end on a high note here, but I feel like I really lowered the tone by, you know, not giving you maybe the answer that you wanted, but it's the answer that maybe you need to be able to move on and live a life just free from all of the shit the body image kind of brings along with it. I promise that the next episode will be more uplifting. I'm going to be talking about how to deal with relapse and setbacks, and how to really be strong in your recovery as a result. That's going to be a much more positive and hopefully uplifting episode. So if you want to find out more, then make sure you'll follow me on @FinallyFreeAcademy, @FinallyFreeAcademy, important underscore. And I will put that in the show notes. And yeah, don't be afraid to give me a follow. Let me know what you think. Let me know how this has landed with you. Let me know how you feel after listening to this, whether like good, bad, or the ugly. Like, I'd love to hear about that. I will leave it there and I will see you on the next episode. Bye.